Welcome to week 55 of the DVD Fiends. Because it's the first week in Christmas, I'm going to go with a Christmas themed film. And today I'm going to be reviewing the film Silent Night, Deadly Night. I'll start off. This film was directed by Charles E. Sellier Jr. It stars, only for a short time, Linnea Quigley, but the actual scene that she's in, all Linnea Quigley fans will love. And it starts off with a young family travelling to see the grandpa who's in a mental institute, and the family's got a young boy called Billy, and they travel to this institute to see his grandfather. They turn up and the grandfather doesn't speak, he doesn't acknowledge that they're there, he just sits there as if he's on pause. And they try speaking to him, he doesn't answer back, and one of the doctors calls Billy's parents into the office to speak about any progress that's been done with the grandfather. And while they're in, they leave Billy with the grandfather on his own, and as soon as they go in the office to speak to the doctor, the grandfather starts talking to Billy, and he says, "I hope you've been good over this year, because if you've been bad even once, Father Christmas or Santa won't bring you presents, he'll punish you, and he'll punish you severely." So the parents come back out, and the grandfather acts all numb and as if he can't hear him again, and it scares Billy to death what his grandfather said. So they leave the institute and they're travelling home, and it's a long way away. And then it cuts to a guy dressed as Santa Claus going in a shop to buy some cigarettes, and really he's a robber, and he robs the shop and kills the shopkeeper, and then you see him drive off from the shop, and then it cuts back to Billy and his family travelling home, and then they come across this guy dressed as Santa Claus at the side of the road in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, and the Santa guy flags them down as if his car's broke down, and Billy's telling his parents, "Don't stop, drive past," but they pull over, and the Santa guy dressed as Santa pulls a gun on them. They try driving off, but the guy shoots Billy's dad, kills him, and the car comes to a stop, and the guy dressed as Santa Claus pulls Billy's mom out and starts trying to rape her, and when she fights back, he kills her, slits her throat. Billy manages to get out of the car and run to the side of the road and hide in some bushes, so he gets away. And then it cuts to 2 or 3 years ahead of that incident, and Billy's in an orphanage run by a strict nun and colleagues, and Billy's got problems. Obviously, he saw his mum get almost raped and she got murdered, and saw his dad get murdered, so he's got a lot of problems. And when it comes up to Christmas time, he hates it, and he plays up, and he won't go near nobody who's dressed as Santa Claus. He hates Christmas. They have a lot of problems with him, and they dish some serious beatings out to him. Well, the one strict nun that runs it all beats him every time he does anything wrong with a belt, and so he has a lot of problems in the orphanage. And then it cuts to when he's about 18, something like that, and one of the nuns that was nice to him gets him a job at a toy store. This is in the spring of that year, and he does well, and it looks like Billy's got his life back on track. He's doing great in the shop. The shopkeeper, the storekeeper loves him, thinks he's great, he does everything very good until it comes to Christmas, and then he starts. It worries him. You can tell that he's got a lot on his mind. He hates Christmas, and on Christmas Eve, the Santa Claus, the guy dressed as Santa Claus in the shop, who sees all the kids and that, he's ill, so he can't make it for that day, and they need a Santa Claus, so they talk Billy into dressing as Santa Claus for the kids, and he does, and you can tell he's about to snap when he dresses as Santa Claus. He looks very uncomfortable, and but he still does it. And then when everyone's gone home and the shop's shut for the night on Christmas Eve, they have a party for all the staff, and Billy sees one of his colleagues who he fancies getting off with another colleague, and everyone keeps making Christmas jokes towards him and stuff, like calling him Santa, and eventually he just absolutely snaps. And I'm not going to tell you how he murdered his colleagues and the boss, but he does. He kills them all in the shop, and then he gets out of the shop and he goes on a rampage. There's a scene just as once he's left the shop, he goes to the house where Linnea Quigley's babysitting her young sister, I think. Yeah, and she gets her boobs out, which is very nice, but she looks really well in the 80s. Everyone will know that I like Linnea Quigley. And yeah, there's a great kill. Linnea Quigley gets killed, and it's a brilliant kill. And the other guy, her boyfriend in the house, gets killed. And he just goes on a mad rampage, and eventually goes back to the orphanage where the nun punished him, and obviously goes on the killing spree. I'm not going to tell you much else about it. I'm not going to tell you how people get killed or who gets killed towards the end. But yeah, this is definitely recommended. I'd say this is the best Christmas themed horror film ever made. It's a very underrated slasher film. I rate it as good as the famous ones. Nearly as good anyway, nearly as good as Friday the 13th and Halloween. Not quite. But yeah, it's going to be one of the best underrated slashers. If you haven't seen it, I'd definitely check this one out. Especially with it coming up to Christmas, great Christmas theme. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. Yeah, it's a great film, so please check it out, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.